Illuminating television.
Everyone's favorite channel, Cartoon Network, has been reduced to limited series and reruns. And after 30 years, Cartoon Network is in the same boat as its competitor, Nickelodeon. Due to the recent mergers with Warner Bros. Discovery and the entertainment industry woes for the last few years have brought the once legendary network to its knees. To understand it, we must go through every era of Cartoon Network.
Cartoons.
Ted Turner, the CEO of Turner Broadcasting as well as CNN, would purchase Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer from Kirk Kerkorian and then buys it back 75 days after, but keeps some of the MGM library for himself. In that library of content were old Tom and Jerry, Merry Melodies, Popeye, and Looney Tunes cartoons. Turner Broadcasting Network would air these reruns and gain attraction of old people who grew up with the cartoons on October 3rd, 1988. During 1991, Turner Broadcasting would go a step further to buy Hanna-Barbera Studios as well as the entire catalog for $320 million. The network would be pitched by former President Betty Cohen. The main reason for the existence of the network was ad revenue.
Even though other businesses soft this year, ad revenues are up on kids' shows. Throughout cable, most children's programs are completely sold out. Now that NBC is getting out of Saturday morning kid vid, the demand for cable airtime will be even higher. With the original baby boomers spending more on their kids these days, it's a booming market.
Nickelodeon proved that kids were a great demographic to be catered to, as well as advertisers to get in on profit margins. The names pitched at that time were Turner Toons, Toon Alley, the Cartoon Channel, and Toon TV. During 1992, Cartoon Network was launched, and the first cartoon aired was Rhapsody Rabbit. Cartoon Network only consisted of MGM and Warner Bros. Licensed cartoons, and only aired in certain cities such as Atlanta, New York City, Chicago, DC, Detroit, Dallas, and Boston. During 1995, Cartoon Network would drop "the" from the brand because, well,
drop the. It's cleaner.
Due to a larger catalog of cartoons than the competitor Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network became the first 24-hour cartoon block. Ted Turner would look to the strategy of CNN being 24 news coverage and do the same thing with cartoons. Cartoon Network would, however, not receive the title of the first kids network, as Nickelodeon was still on that throne. Toonheads was a short trivia game about the cartoons played, while High Noon Tunes, hosted by cowboy hand puppets, showed the creativity of Cartoon Network. In the early years, the network would have a hard time with cable viewership. So as a result, Turner would bundle packages with cable companies and would give Cartoon Network as a bonus with TBS and TNT. By 1994, it was on the top 5 most watched channels in the country. Shows that would be shared with TNT and TBS during those times were The Adventures of Johnny Quest, SWAT Kats, Cartoon Planet, and Two Stupid Dogs. The first Cartoon Network original was The Moxie Show, where a janitorial dog named Moxie would tamper with the network signal to give commentary and trivia. The second would be Space Ghost from Coast to Coast. Unsuccessful revivals were from John Kerfalsi. Recently fired from Nickelodeon made Boo Boo Runs Wild and The Day in the Life of Ranger Smith. Because of the sexual overtones and overly edgy scenes, Cartoon Network found it difficult to air the cartoons. In 1994, Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network Studios invested in indie animators to create What a Cartoon. Fred Seibert from Oh Yeah Cartoons and John Kerfalsi were assistants to help pilots get off the ground. After 1995, cartoons were brought into a vote by the Cartoon Network executives as well as audience members, and Dexter's Laboratory debuts and becomes the first spin-off from What a Cartoon in 1996. Following behind Dexter's Lab came Cow and Chicken, which then divided from I Am Weasel, Johnny Bravo, the Powerpuff Girls, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and Mike, Lou, and Og. Following behind was Big Bag and Small World, airing on Sunday mornings for a preschool audience. Cartoon Network Online would debut interactive games and merchandise from Cartoon Planet with certain ads backing it up. During this time, Turner Broadcasting merged with Time Warner, who at the time dropped Nickelodeon after profit losses and merging with Viacom. In 1997, Toonami debuted with Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Thundercats, and Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, after the anime craze was gaining traction in the 90s. Due to the high viewership in Cartoon Network, a sweepstakes Dexter's Duplicate Summer was held as the channel was airing in 48 to 54 million households with the demographic of ages 6 to 11. In 1999, Ed, Edd n Eddy debuted after Danny Antonucci was dared to make a cartoon series. Nickelodeon would restrict the series with creative freedom, while Mike Lazo opened the door for the series with a creative Bible and creative freedom. Cartoon Network series were becoming popular that the Friday night block Cartoon Fridays would air new episodes of the show, revolutionizing the way new episodes and cartoons would debut on Friday nights. In the 2000s, premiered Sheep in the Big City, which didn't last long, while Boomerang launched to move all of the old MGM and Warner Bros. Cartoons. Following in 2001 was Grim and Evil, which divided to the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Evil Con Carne. Samurai Jack and Time Squad also debuted, however, Time Squad did not stand the ratings over the years. June 18, 2001, Betty Cohen leaves Cartoon Network after creative differences and Jim Samples takes her place. During the Samples takeover, Mike Lazo was appointed head of Adult Swim, which was launched September 2, 2001 with home movies reruns after the show was shelved by UPN. Cartoon Network would look into the direction of theatrical releases and released the Powerpuff Girls movie in 2002, and was unsuccessful with a gross of $16.4 million, however was liked by critics. Don't try to compete with Nickelodeon. In 2002, Whatever Happened to Robot Jones and Codename Kids Next Door would debut, but Kids Next Door stayed strong with viewership, whereas Robot Jones was canceled. By 2003, Cartoon Fridays was rebranded to Live Action Fridays with Tommy Snyder and Naziga Blake, later replaced by Tara Strands in 2005. On June 14, 2005, Cartoon Network rebranded and updated the logo from checkerboard to C and N with the slogan,
This is Cartoon Network.
The City was produced by Joe Gregory and Lachima, known by many as the most creative and legendary era due to the fact that the bumpers incorporated all of the cartoon elements in areas of cartoon shows. Megas XLR, Foster's Home from Imaginary Friends, and Hi Hi Puffy Amiyui were debuting. Due to the low viewership of Megas XLR, it was written off as a tax write-off. And for a guy in Jersey, I mean, I really like that show. In 2005, Cartoon Network would churn out more original shows such as The Life and Times of Juniper Lee, Camp Lazlo, and Ben 10, while putting Code Lyoko and marathon media-related cartoons on the weekday block Magoozy. Cartoon Network would make a pivot to preschool shows with Tickle You to compete with Nick Jr. and Noggin blocks, with shows like Gerald McBoing Boing, George Shrinks, Yoko Jakamoko Toto, Little Robots, and everybody's favorite meme, Peppa Pig. But because of low ratings, Tickle You was pulled after a year. Sunday Pants was a mixed animation show such as Kablam on Nickelodeon, but after a month, the show was canceled. Because of their failure at the box office, Cartoon Network decided to air all of their series original movies on the channel with Foster's Home, Good Will Hunting, Billy and Mandy's Big Boogie Adventure, and Kids Next Door Operation Zero. Along with those movies being successes in 2006 came Squirrel Boy, Class of 3000, and My Gym Partner's a Monkey. During 2007, Jim Samples would step down as Cartoon Network president due to the Boston bomb scare, with the Aqua Teen movie promotion gone horribly wrong. After Jim stepped down, Turner paid millions to Boston for damages.
This Saturday at 7, Cartoon Network's lining up your favorite action stars back to back to back. Pikachu, Yugi, Goku, and even some your parents know. Very impressive.
I like my commercials. Cartoon Network.
Yes!
After Jim Samples stepped down, Stuart Snyder became the successor on May 2nd of 2007. This marked the end of the CN City era and the beginning of the Fall era, with the song from the Hives, Fall is Just Something That Grown-Ups Invented. Alright, enough of that. Shows coming out of this era were Out of Jimmy's Head, the spin-off of Reanimated, and Chowder, while also getting Teletoon shows installed such as George of the Jungle, 16, Total Drama Island, every series of it, League of Super Evil, and Bakugan Battle Brawlers. In 2008, The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack by J.G. Quintal was debuted, while Cartoonstitute, which was created by Craig McCracken, Rob Resenti, and Rob Sorcher, was in production. Because of the demand of new cartoons, the show was canceled within 20 months. However, Uncle Grandpa, regular show, and Secret Mountain Fort Awesome came out of the failed show. September 28th of 2008, Toonami shuts down after 11 years of airing, while during 2009, Craig McCracken would leave Cartoon Network after a decade of making cartoons for Cartoon Network. During this time, Cartoon Network would get into shorts called wedgies, with the talented Mr. Bixby calling Cat 22, Big Baby, Nacho Bear, and Roller Squirrels. This would be known as the downfall of the CN era, but it gets a whole lot worse.
Yeah, my friends get no respect. What does Scooby do that we neglect? We be putting
July 14th of 2008, the Noods era took over Cartoon Network with these Funko Pop-looking mascots, which came from the DIY toy Mooney. Tristan Easton, the animator, was in charge of this era, created by Crew 972. While the lineup was still intact, Cartoon Network would take a turn for the worse. Cartoon Network would abandon the content it created to make CN real, with shows like Dude, What Would Happen, Slam Ball, The Outsiders, Destroy, Build, Destroy, and Survive This. This era would be known as Cartoon Network's stagnation period and would put Cartoon Network down under for years to come. After the Noods era, Cartoon Network would rebrand with Checkered and was prototyped in 2010 until it was perfected with a new logo design. By that time, it would be known to some as the Cartoon Renaissance, as Adventure Time was debuted after being rejected by Nickelodeon. Along with that came Problem Solvers, The Amazing World of Gumball, The Looney Tunes Show, Ben 10 Omniverse, Green Lantern, Thundercats, and Ninjago Masters of Spinjutzu. CN Real tried to make a comeback with Unnatural History and Tower Prep, but got canceled because, let's face it, no one is watching it. Hole in the Wall was the last installment of CN Real, albeit YouTube becoming popular during the 2000s birthed the high fructose adventures of Annoying Orange. We don't want to go back to those times. Because bullying and cyberbullying were a huge epidemic, the Stop Bullying Speak Up campaign in July 4th, 2012 was established to raise awareness on bullying in schools with a documentary Speak Up to bring up the recent deaths due to bullying. While in 2013, new programming Teen Titans Go, Steven Universe, Clarence, Tom and Jerry Show, Mixers, Garage Band, Beware the Batman, Legends of Chima, Total Drama All-Stars, and the new Powerpuff Girls reboot started to happen. March 6, 2014, Stuart Snyder steps down and Christina Miller becomes the successor. Fast forward May 6, 2016, Cartoon Network changes to the Dimensional era, created by Bent Design Lab. Months later, AT&T merges with Time Warner for $108.7 billion and becomes Warner Media during the merge. Warner Media would celebrate with Cartoon Network for the 25th anniversary and turn Cartoon Network into what Nickelodeon became, a tourist attraction with a cruise line to boot. AT&T would also move assets from every branch of Cartoon Network and make it under one umbrella under Warner Bros. Entertainment. November 27th of 2019, Christina Miller would step down and Michael Olween would become the successor.
Checkered past, weekdays starting at 5, only on Adult Swim.
What's going on down there?
AT&T would run Cartoon Network into the ground, moving way too many assets and then dumping it into Warner Bros., therefore cutting corners and costing jobs in the process. At this time, a lot of Cartoon Network series were ending. Steven Universe Future, Regular Show, Adventure Time, We Bare Bears would all end or go on hiatus from Cartoon Network Studios. Craig of the Creek, which was gaining popularity, was cut short in seasons due to the company moving branches. Tom Ashim, the Cartoon Network successor after Michael, would then oversee all operations of Cartoon Network. Noticing the utter failure of Then Tickle You, creates an even worse preschool cartoon block, Cartoonito. This was also to introduce shows on HBO Max while running the block 8 hours each day, while Acme Night was for TV-14 movies and classic cartoon movies. May 17th of 2021, David Salzav merges Warner Bros. With Discovery to create Warner Bros. Discovery. After that, you know the rest. Cartoon Network loses Cartoon Network Studios, Adult Swim moves to 5 p.m., Checker Pass is a thing because they have to fill slots with something, and Adult Swim becomes a vacuum for HBO Max. After 30 years of creativity, hardship, innovation, and various presidents, Cartoon Network met the same fate as its competitor Nickelodeon. People have speculated that the Cartoon Network channel itself can never be revived, only due to the fact that Warner Bros. Owns everything Cartoon Network and the studios is gone only for people to go to Warner Bros. Animation. Because Adult Swim took the 5 p.m. slot only adds to the fact that Cartoon Network itself has run out of ideas and is only using Cartoonito, Checkered Pass, and Acme Night to keep it alive. And with only one show, Tiny Toons Luniversity, in production, people are asking for the plug to be pulled. Checkered Pass makes little to no sense because you can watch it on streaming services or web-based platforms, to where the block is just an old Cartoon Network with Adult Swim bumps. Because basically that's what it is. A future for the network is very grim, no pun intended. Because of the new merges, Cartoon Network is at a standstill with content. And with various animators like Craig McCracken, JG Quinto, Mike Savino, Jendi Tartarovsky tired or let go from the network, who now takes the role in Cartoon Network's revival? To be fair, will we ever see revival at all?